For over 1,000 years, the French crown was one of the most powerful symbols in Europe. But what happens when a king loses it? Not every monarch dies peacefully in their bed. From being locked in a monastery to facing the guillotine, this is the story of every French king who was stripped of their power. Get ready, because we're covering more than 13 centuries of royal drama. Our story begins way back in the 8th century with the Merovingian dynasty, the long-haired kings who ruled the Franks. By the 700s, their power had faded. They were known as the do-nothing kings, with real authority held by their powerful mayors of the palace. The last of this line was Childeric III. In 751, he was little more than a figurehead. The ambitious mayor, Pepin the Short, saw his chance. He wasn't content being the power behind the throne, he wanted the throne itself. So he went to the Pope and asked a simple question: who should be king? The one with the title, or the one with the power? The Pope, needing a strong ally, sided with Pepin. Childeric III was formally deposed. His long hair, a symbol of his dynasty's power, was cut off, and he was forced into a monastery, never to be seen again. With that, the Merovingian era ended, and the Carolingian dynasty began. The Carolingians, starting with Pepin and his legendary son Charlemagne, built a vast empire. But empires are hard to keep together. Fast forward to the late 800s, and we meet Charles the Fat. He had managed to briefly reunite much of Charlemagne's old empire, but he was not the great warrior his ancestor was. His biggest test came from the Vikings, who relentlessly sailed up the Seine River to besiege Paris. Instead of fighting them off decisively, Charles the Fat paid them a hefty tribute and told them to go raid Burgundy instead. This was seen as a sign of weakness and cowardice by the nobles. They had had enough. In 887, an assembly of nobles deposed him, shattering the Carolingian Empire for good. Stripped of his titles and his lands, Charles the Fat died just a few months later, a forgotten ruler of a collapsed empire. After him, the Carolingian hold on West Francia, which would become France, crumbled completely, paving the way for a new dynasty. Next up, the Capetians. This dynasty, starting in 987, was remarkably stable. For over 300 years, from father to son, the crown passed without a single king being deposed. They were masters of political survival, slowly building their power from a small territory around Paris into the kingdom we recognize as France today. They avoided the internal strife and weakness that had plagued their predecessors. So for this long stretch of French history, there are no deposed kings to report. Every Capetian monarch died a king, but that stability couldn't last forever. The Capetian direct line ended, and the crown passed to a branch of the family, the House of Valois, in 1328. This era was defined by chaos, plague, and the 100 Years' War against England. While no Valois king was technically deposed in the same way as Childeric or Charles the Fat, a couple came dangerously close to losing everything. First, there's John II, also known as John the Good. During the catastrophic Battle of Poitiers in 1356, he was captured by the English. While he was never formally dethroned, being a prisoner of war meant he had no control over his kingdom. France was thrown into turmoil, ruled by his son, the Dauphin Charles, while John was held for a massive ransom in England. He lost his freedom and his authority, a de facto loss of his crown's power. Then, much later in the Valois period, we have Henry III. His reign was torn apart by the wars of religion between Catholics and Protestants. Henry found himself caught in the middle, distrusted by both sides. By 1588, the powerful Catholic League, led by the Duke of Guise, controlled Paris and effectively rejected Henry's authority. The king was forced to flee his own capital. The Pope excommunicated him, and a large portion of his kingdom no longer recognized him as their rightful ruler. He had lost control. He was a king without a kingdom. While he wasn't formally deposed by a council, he was actively rejected by his people. His story ends when he was assassinated in 1589, and with his death, the Valois dynasty ended, passing the crown to their cousins, the Bourbons. The Bourbon dynasty would become the most famous of all, ruling during France's Golden Age, but also overseeing its most violent upheaval. The first king on our list from this family is the most infamous of them all, Louis XVI. He inherited a kingdom on the brink of financial collapse and social revolution. He tried to enact reforms, but it was too little too late. In 1789, the French Revolution exploded. For 3 years, Louis was a constitutional monarch, a king with limited power. But in 1792, as the revolution grew more radical, the monarchy was abolished entirely. Louis was no longer king of France. He was citizen Louis Capet, his crown was gone, and the First French Republic was declared. His fate was sealed soon after. Accused of treason, he was put on trial and famously executed by guillotine in January 1793. This wasn't just a deposition. It was the complete destruction of the monarchy. Of course, the story doesn't end there. After the Revolution and the Napoleonic era, the Bourbons were restored to power in 1814, but the world had changed. The next king to lose his crown was Charles X, Louis XVI's younger brother. Charles was an ultra-royalist who believed in the absolute power of the king, a concept that was completely out of step with the times. In 1830, he issued a series of decrees that dissolved parliament and stripped away voting rights. The people of Paris responded immediately. In just 3 days, the July Revolution drove him from power. Faced with an angry mob and no support, Charles X was forced to abdicate his throne and flee into exile. The direct line of the Bourbon kings would never rule France again, but the French weren't done with monarchy just yet. In Charles's place came his cousin, Louis Philippe I, from the Orleans branch of the family. He was styled not as the King of France, but as the King of the French, a title meant to show he ruled by the will of the people. His reign is known as the July Monarchy, and for 18 years, he presided over a wealthy, bourgeois-led society. But beneath the surface, discontent was brewing among the working classes who felt left out. In February 1848, another revolution erupted in Paris. Once again, the barricades went up, and the people demanded change. Seeing that he had lost control of the capital and the support of the National Guard, Louis Philippe knew his time was up. He, too, abdicated and fled to England in disguise. He would be the last monarch to ever reign over France. With his departure, the French monarchy was abolished for good, replaced by the Second Republic. And there you have it, the complete list of every French king who officially lost their crown. From Childeric III, forced into a monastery, to Charles the Fat, rejected for his weakness. From the revolutionary deposition of Louis XVI to the abdications of Charles X and Louis Philippe. Each one represents a major turning point in French history, a moment when the power of the throne was broken. It's a powerful reminder that even for kings, nothing is forever. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through French history fascinating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. Let me know in the comments which deposed king's story you found most interesting. See you next time.